Happy Canada Day, everybody. I'm sure Blue Bombers fans are pleased, relieved. Huge rebound win following a tough one to BC last week. The Blue Bombers defense showed up and showed out in Montreal tonight. 17-3, your final score. Huge win for Winnipeg to get back on the right track and improve to 3-1 on the season. Well, you all know how we do it here on Game Day After Dark. We bring in my good man, Zach Schnitzer. But Zach's not here. Zach will join us later from a secret location somewhere in southern Manitoba. Chris Walby joined me earlier on the pregame show from a secret location somewhere in southern Manitoba. I have a special guest for you all to enjoy along with me tonight on Game Day After Dark. And I'm looking forward to this a lot. From a secret location somewhere in southern Manitoba. There he is, Joey Slattery. You might recognize him. You might recognize him from CTV Winnipeg, but here he is on Bonfire Sports. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I feel like Chris Collinsworth sliding in on the intro here. You're like a more handsome Al Michaels.
Oh, yeah, no, entirely less talented. That is for sure.
I don't think so.
I don't know. It's Al Michaels we're talking about.
You're Winnipeg's Al Michaels. There we go.
Yeah, well, outstanding football game for the Blue Bombers tonight. The weather delay had me a little shook. I'm sure it had a lot of people shook, especially those in Montreal, watching the rain pour down and watching the lightning go crazy. So about an hour and 45 minute delay. They did get things underway at around, what was it? 7:45 Winnipeg time, 8:45 Montreal time. So hat tip. Red Hat Canada Day tip to everybody in Montreal who stuck around, stayed late, and enjoyed themselves. But I don't know about you, Joey. What I saw in this game was just a smothering defense. And I think you and I will have to have some, we'll have to have some chats. And everybody joining us in the live chat, great to see you there, as always, watching live. We might have to have a conversation about the Blue Bombers offense. Not looking so hot right now.
No, but you know what, though? I think this is a big bounce back game for both lines. Like, the defensive line, offensive line. I'm going to give them a pass on the offense a little bit, only because the rain, right? I actually kind of enjoyed the mix up of the play calling. There was a lot of running. A lot of guys were involved in the run play. And honestly, for the rain that there was, Zach Schnitzer made some pretty nice passes.
No question.
Wolotarski getting that touchdown. I mean, keeping things rolling. Because what an opportunity for him right now. With Lawler gone, Dembski out today, this guy is just all reliable, man. I know he doesn't get the volume that, other guys get. But, man, when he's called, very rarely does he let you down.
No doubt. No doubt. What do you say we take a look at the post-game stats? These are unofficial, but these are the post-game stats as they are right now. But Zach Schnitzer, as we were just talking about, he's 65%. He throws 2 touchdowns. He has a quarterback rating, efficiency rating, that is, of 102.3. So anything over 100 is great. 120 something is about perfect. The 1 interception does not concern me. I don't think it should concern anybody out there in Bomber Nation right now, because it was a tipped ball, just like his interception last week. His only other interception of the season against BC tipped off the hands of Nick Dembski. By the way, shout out Nick Dembski and the growing Dembski clan hanging out back in Winnipeg. Even if the Bombers needed him tonight, they didn't need him because he's back home taking care of things. But hey, Brady Oliveira, what's a thorax? I don't care. He had 119 yards on the ground, 6 yards per carry, 3 10-yard runs. He was just outstanding in that sense. Dalton Schoen had 3 second down conversions. Drew Wolotarski pulled in his second touchdown of the season. He had 2 second down conversions. The Bombers' offense was good when it needed to be, but the reason I was a little bit concerned, Joey, was because, especially in the second half, whoops, where'd you go? I'll bring you back. Here you go. There he is.
I'm out of my rabbit hole. There we go.
Especially in the second half, Winnipeg went like 2 and out. I think they had a 5-play drive and then ended up turning it over. And then another 2 and out. And if it wasn't for the defense,
Yes.
Going back to Brandon Alexander's interception and 60+ yard return, like an interception is a great thing and a big return, that's awesome.
But
But
that changes the game. That changes the game, Darren, because
from
that
the
was at the
2
goal.
yard line.
Like, Fajardo just didn't see him. It was kinda crazy that it was just he kind of threw that in all, lackadaisical almost like it was a sure thing,
Mm,
and Alexander just read that like a book, and off he went. I mean, but if he doesn't make that interception, that probably is a touchdown. And then are we talking like what's this conversation now, right? Because after that, they were able to secure everything. And I think getting Dalton Schoen finally getting that touchdown, that was huge too. Getting him involved and then kind of putting that game to rest. But there were a couple of times, and maybe it's because they're coming off that, devastating loss, we'll call it, on against BC.
no doubt
But
it was.
there was a couple times towards the end, I'm like, man, like they might cough this up. You take the weather into account. You take kind of the weird things leading up to it. I mean, they're professional athletes. They're used to delays and things like that. But I just wasn't as sure as I have been in, I would say recent even years of just, there were times where they're down and they battle back. It was kind of a weird feeling a few times in the fourth quarter to feel like they're up, but up until they got to about 4 minutes left, I think that's when I finally thought, okay, everything's going to be good. And then they forced the field goal. I think it was it Max touchdown that was overturned.
Yeah.
That was
Abu
Alexander
Darami,
too, I think. Or was that
yeah,
Soiree?
yeah, Abu
Or
Daramy-Swaray.
yes,
What a recovery to, like, he was so out of position when that ball arrived, but just somehow was able to contort his body and get his hand into the catch area for Austin Mack and knock it away. Like an
and,
unbelievable play that I think will be overlooked by a lot of people. It shouldn't be overlooked. An incredible play by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers rookie. We saw the Alouettes go after Abu Daramy-Swaray
yes,
a lot tonight. They also went after a guy who was not supposed to start this game, but he did. He's been the starter there for a while. He's been a starter at this spot on a Grey Cup champion team. He's been a league all-star at this spot, but pulled from last game, was not set to start this game. That is, of course, Alden Darby at the dime back spot because the Canadian special teamer and veteran, Reda Kramdi, injured himself late in practice this week. So there was, just pulling up the numbers here, there was Alden Darby with a game high 7 tackles, 6 on defense, 1 on specials, even 6 led the way.
yeah.
Daramy-Swaray had 6 tackles as well. It was Demario Houston that really kind of got beat, had a receiver behind him a couple times tonight. Soiree, all things considered, as a rookie and, his second game, I thought he played pretty well. But
And
Alden
Austin
Darby,
Mack's no joke, man. Like, I was really impressed. That
yes.
was the best look I got at him so far this season. I
Mhm.
mean, he played for Ohio State. I mean, they don't produce, garbage. I mean, he's talented, but
No.
he had a couple of big catches, a couple of nice route runs too. And in that play, particularly, like you talk about, it'll be overlooked. It was overlooked by the officials. I remember, like, even as they came up with the ball, I thought for sure it's incomplete. It has to be, but they had the touchdown up, and I'm thinking, okay, so man, that must have been a really good catch. Like, I'm thinking, opposite now. What a catch in traffic with the guy's arm in his chest. But no, that was a great play by Daramy-Swaray, and he's been a great addition too. Like, but everybody's stepping up. Everybody, like, it kind of goes back to that next man up mentality. This is a team that's been kind of dealing with a whole bunch of weird things throughout the year. Like, we haven't seen the full Bombers team yet, and now they're 3-1 on the season. And I think that should be a message to the rest of the league that this is not a team that's going to roll over. They're still the measuring stick, right? I think actually they might have been talking about that during the broadcast. Like, yep, it was weird to see that one, kind of uncharacteristic loss where they were just dominated in every aspect of the game. But then they came back today and really had a good bounce back game. And, Montreal, I think they're a little maybe I'm not going to say overrated. No, I will say overrated. They're a little overrated coming in 2-0 just because they beat,
Yep.
who did they beat? They beat Edmonton and was it Ottawa in
They
their
beat
first two games?
They beat Hamilton in Ottawa.
Hamilton and Ottawa. So,
Oh no, sorry.
you know,
No, you were right. You were right. You were right.
was
They
that
beat Edmonton and Ottawa, and now they go to Hamilton.
Yeah, right. So, like, those are two teams that aren't the cream of the crop exactly. We saw them play each other yesterday. But yeah, so I think this kind of puts things in perspective. for them a little bit as well. But this was a game that the Bombers needed to win, not handily, but they had to have a good performance. And you put everything in, like shout out to Buck Pierce on the play calling on this one, because it's tough to play in the rain, man. And another double shout out though, I want to say Wolodarski and Dalton Schoen playing in the rain without gloves. Old school, man. Backyard football. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Just an outstanding performance by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers defense. I've got a Walby's Warrior and game balls to hand out tonight. So do you, Joey Slattery. Great for really appreciate you making your Bonfire Sports debut here on the channel. We've got our Happy Honker Award and Westwood's Wide to the Right and all those great things that we do with our good man, Zach Schnitzer, who, well, here he is. Joins us from locations unknown. What's going on, Schnitzy, man? I'm worried about you. I haven't heard from you. I joke.
I know.
Of course. You've been texting me, but how are you doing out there, man?
I'm doing well, buddy. Hey, Joey Slattery has joined us. He's up the game here in a large margin, Darren.
Oh, no kidding, right?
I've peaked, guys. This is big for me. This was like a dream. I'm like, when are they going to get me on Bonfire Sports? And here I am. I was saying to Darren yesterday when he asked me, he's like, come on. I'm like, yeah, but nervously, man. I'm like, this is more nerve-wracking than going on CTV Morning Live.
Nah, dude.
Mainly because I don't know when it ends, right? Like, we could be going marathon.
Right.
I figure, tonight we might be talking till 5 a.m. Who knows?
We're not going to go 5 hours or 4 hours like they do on Morning Live, okay? I can promise you that.
Do we have commercial breaks?
No commercial breaks. We are live and in your face. Following a huge Blue Bombers win. Schnitz, give us your take on the game overall. We were talking about, Zach Collaros making it happen when he needed to, the line play on both sides of the ball being really good, but the defense really leading the way tonight. How did you see it?
I did see it that way. The defense led the way, and every time the Bombers offense had a chance to step on the L's throat, they didn't quite put it away, and then it was the defense creating turnovers that sort of rescued them. So I think the defense really played a strong game, and just having Jeff Coat back there makes a massive difference. I mean, I think it's actually night and day, the type of defense that they play. I think last week, when you don't get enough pressure, they can dink and dunk this defense because they play a few yards off the ball. But when they play that way, because if they get enough pressure, it's probable that the quarterback isn't going to have enough time, and they're going to throw his short stuff, and it doesn't work. And then they allowed 3 points. I mean, they did get a red zone pick, which was a huge turnover. We'll talk about that later. But I was just super impressed with the defense today.
Oh, look what I did!
Oh, you made me bigger.
Okay, well, I'll straighten
I just felt the ratings boost. Did you see that? Our ratings went up like 3 people as soon as you zoomed in.
I've got an interesting lighting situation going on here. This is a work in progress.
Like a little bonfire you're sitting next to.
It's got a little bonfire, a little bright. Joey's lighting is great, though. I mean, why did it take so long to get this guy on the show?
The TV guy has great lighting. Big surprise, right?
Yeah, right.
It's all about skincare, guys.
Well, and that's the thing too, is I generally get pretty red because I'm incredibly pasty, and that's just the way I rock in the summer. Even in the winter when I get cold, my skin goes red. But it's Canada Day, and you guys are wearing gray. What's going on?
Oh man, well, the only thing I really own is red underwear, so I'm wearing those. But
you have to put that on.
Don't have a lot of red.
This is green, Darren. I hate to tell you, buddy. You probably can't tell.
But you know what? You're at the lake, so you got 2 t-shirts and 3, pairs of drawers, and you're set.
Draws, yes, draws.
Draws.
Just pulling up my notes here from the game. The weather delay could have derailed this game, right? It could have made things incredibly scary. But thank goodness it was playable field conditions, and we saw a good football game. To me, the biggest impact in this game was the play of the defensive line. And Joey, I know you hit on that right off the top. You're so right.
Well, the thing is too with that defensive line, like they put a lot of pressure on Fajardo, but were you guys shocked a little bit at just how mobile Fajardo was, especially in that first half, and I'll say in the fourth quarter? Like
Yeah.
he had a couple of good rushes that picked up first downs, and even towards the end, there was one in the fourth quarter. Again, going back to that, I'm not as confident anymore. He had one run where it looked like it was a sure tackle. He ran up the middle, and then he got it wasn't a first down, but let's say it was like 6 or 7 yards. It was just something I'm not used to seeing from him from his Saskatchewan days. So he kind of he scared me a little bit at times, because especially that opening drive for Winnipeg, there was the quick rush from Kolaris, and then he got popped as he let the ball go. It was an incomplete pass. It was a quick 2-and-out. And it was just like, man, maybe this isn't, in that early, you're not making the early judgment, but you're kind of seeing how the last game went, not even ended, the whole game went. And then you see that first play, and I'm wondering, and then you see Fajardo come out and looks like he has something to prove. Things settle down a little bit, but once the defensive line, I mean, they put a lot of pressure on him. They forced him to make passes and to rush, I think, when he didn't want to. Like he had to improvise quite a bit. But that was just a strong play. You can tell that both the offensive line and the defensive line wanted to come out and prove something today from the last game, because I think that left a sour taste in their mouth. But it was good to see them bounce back. It was good football to watch, considering, because you talk about the rain delay. There were a couple times in that game it was raining pretty hard, man. Like I'm thinking, I don't want to be out there. I couldn't imagine trying to throw the ball or even just hold the ball. Talking about Brady Oliveira, and was it 119 yards he ran for? Like this is a game where the ball pops a lot. It gets a little slippery. So they did a really good job at securing the ball, all things considered.
2 100-yard receivers for the Montreal Alouettes in Keon Julian Grant. Of course, that 69-yarder pretty much made his game. Austin Max, just an emerging stud in this league. But this is the question I'll pose to you, Zach, is we saw William Stanback, and even before the game, talking to TSN's Matthew Shinetti, saying, I don't want to give the game plan up too much, but I expect the ball in my hands a lot, especially if it's, a bit of a mutter, a bit of a sloppy game. Well, only 8 carries for 42 yards. Walter Fletcher came in there for a bit of change of pace, a little bit more of a speedier guy. Kind of reminds me, like, a little bit Greg McCray-ish. And we'll definitely talk about Greg McCray, in a minute here. But 6 runs for 40 yards for Cody Fajardo, and 2 for 10. Like, those were broken plays. These were not designed run plays. And they only ran the ball 8 times to William Stanback. He's averaging 5.3 yards per carry. And it's not like Montreal was racing to catch up. To me, it was very strange. Or maybe more so. It's just interesting to see how Montreal chose to attack Winnipeg offensively, because they sure abandoned the run quickly. Must have been a pretty hellacious pressure, on the front.
Well, that's what I was thinking, that the defense, they really contained the run. I'm surprised to see he had a 5.3 yard average. I'm wondering if there's some outliers there, because the reason I thought they went away maybe not. The reason I thought they went away from the run is they couldn't seem to get a ton of traction on first down, but maybe they abandoned it too soon, because if you're getting 5.3 yards on average on first down, that's excellent in the Canadian Football League.
Well, I will, put this clarity there. He did have 2 runs of 10 plus yards and a long of 12. So let's just say a 10-yard run and a 12-yard run. That's 22 of his 42 yards on 2 runs.
Yeah.
So
so I think he got them in chunks. I mean, that's what the stats are saying. You got it right there, Darren.
But
sometimes you're right. Do I have to turn my hat around, boys? Like we all have beards. We're all wearing, we're not wearing our blue colors. We're cousins.
Beard and cap hour.
You're in the woods.
Beard and cap. I'm actually in the woods. Yes, I don't know where you two gents are, but I'm off the grid.
I've been taken to the wood shed, and Joey's just chilling in the middle.
I was stoked, because I'm like, I don't have to do my hair. I don't do anything. This is living, guys.
Yeah, man.
This is living.
Welcome to digital media in the 21st century. And thanks to everybody out there who's joining us on YouTube Live and Facebook and Twitter. And even if you're listening to this via podcast afterwards, thanks for joining us, and hope you're having a great Canada Day weekend. I'm guessing you're a Bombers fan if you're watching Bonfire Sports. I'm guessing you're a Winnipeg sports fan, and it's been a pretty crazy week and weekend in the world of Winnipeg sports over the last couple days. And big shout out to Kenny and Rennie and Winnipeg Sports Talk. And like, we are so lucky, Bonfire excluded, we are so lucky to have the digital sports coverage we do here in Winnipeg, because if you're a Jets fan or a Bombers fan or a Sea Bears fan or a Gold Eyes fan or whatever, you've got so many ways to, get the conversation going, and really appreciate everybody who's been in the live chat and joining us here. But those guys have been doing a great job with the hockey.
Yeah, man, Kenny and Rennie, like, and if you ever meet those guys, salt of the earth, man.
They're okay.
Yeah.
They're
Sean,
all right.
Sean Reynolds and I sat a season beside each other in the press box. So
I'm
got to know
sorry to hear
Sean
that,
pretty
man.
well. Oh man, the conversation never stops with that guy. I love it. You get that guy talking hockey, like you
TV
have
guys?
to. Yeah, right. Well,
Yeesh.
yeah. So he was and Kenny's the same way, but yeah, Kenny and Rennie, they're an entertaining duo. Actually, I should have wore that. He gave me a shirt, Sean's headband. Remember during COVID, he had he'd wear that headband. So I should have got my shirt. That's the one I should have wore. Darn it.
That's right. Was there concern in this game by Winnipeg's overall offensive production? I mean, yeah, they get the win, and Kolaris looked good, but is their inability for the continuity a concern? Or should we keep in mind that Montreal's defense is a pretty good defense, good front six, good front seven, overall. And hey, I thought the offensive line played pretty well. Where do you guys stand?
I don't think it's a problem. Like, I didn't really see it that way. Again, like, taking into account, like, you're out Dembski this week, and I know it was obviously expected a little bit, but no one really knows. And like, again, going back to the same things, the weather, but you have your guys that are the playmakers. Like, again, like Wolotarski getting that first touchdown and continuing his drive. Like, he's having a heck of a season this year. We haven't seen the Bombers at full fledged yet, right? Like, there hasn't been a game yet where we've had everybody in there, all the big stars. And I thought they played well. Like, they needed to play as good as they did. Like, the defense, as we said, held it up, but they didn't have to do more. These are the games where you kind of want that, right? Like, you don't need a 40-point blowout this time. And we see them do it time and time again, but you need them to score the 40 points when the defense isn't playing well, right? When the other offense is putting up 25, 30 points, that's when you need to outscore them, right? As simple as that. So in terms of, I'm not like any kind of worry about it. I'm not worried about it at all. I think that's that was a good game. They played a team. They played better than the opposition quite thoroughly. They didn't put up the big numbers that we see all the time, but at the end of the day, they ran the clock well. They made the plays that needed to count, and when they needed the stops, they got the stops too. So I'm not concerned. It's too early in the season to pull any kind of panic, and they're 3-1, right? At the end of the day, you got to find different ways to win, and they found a different way to win.
Zach?
I think the offensive line made a statement tonight, actually. And the number I look at is 1 and 174. 1 is the net amount of sacks they gave up, and 174 rushing yards they produced. So I think this game, it's such a cliche, but I think it was won in the trenches by the D-line and the O-line. And I think the O-line was multiple times Zach had 1, 2, 3 ticks in the pocket to find someone, and he was able to connect on a couple of long balls, one to Dalton Schoen. I think they made a statement. I think Jeff Gray had trouble early. He got turnstile, I think, the first drive, but after that, I think they settled down. And I was impressed with the O-line.
Yeah, I agree. I'm posing the question, right? Because I think if you had to criticize this game, you would look at the drive chart and say, wow, that's a lot of 2 and out, 2 and out, 2 and out. And the reality is, until Winnipeg scored the Dalton Schoen touchdown, it was a 10-0 game, late in the third quarter. And to me, the defense made as much of a statement. I agree with you though, Zach. I think the offensive line had a statement game today, Brady Oliveira, like I tweeted this during the game. What's a thorax injury? Well, it's kind of like, the chest cavity, everything that whole, from the diaphragm to the throat, right? So what is that? Is that ribs? Is it an oblique? Like it's not an oblique, but like, is it a muscle, under the arms? Is it pectoral? Is it his back? Is it something to do with his, you could have fooled me. Brady Oliveira looked no worse for wear. He was an absolute bowling ball, spinning, plowing, getting his paddling. Michael Shea likes to talk about, pad level and getting it low so you win leverage and you win point of contact. He was explosive. He had the fumble. Najee Murray put his helmet into his arm and into the football, and it popped out. But overall, I thought Brady Oliveira, the offensive line, they played physical, they played tough, and I think Brady Oliveira is more just wear and tear on a body, on the most physical, in my opinion, probably the most punished position physically in pro football, as a, an every down tailback like Brady Oliveira is. So, I don't know if it's an acute injury as much as it's just, hey, let's ensure that Brady's body is where it needs to be. Just like he, took a lot of training camp to ensure his body was good. Does he need to practice? Doesn't look like it.
And
Looks
that's the
pretty good
thing,
to
though,
me.
right? Like the value of rest. Like he's missed
Yeah.
a bunch of practices in that, but like he comes out on game day. Like these are professional athletes. A guy like Brady Oliveira now, second year is like the lead guy, right? He knows the playbook. He knows what he's doing. The fact of the matter is, you don't need to be out there in practice and working on things when things are going well. Like you said, he's been battling injury. He's missed how much time, in terms of practice time when we're there, and he's out in his shorts and t-shirt, and 112 yards on 20 carries. Now the other thing though is Buck Pierce, like that, the play calling I thought was great today because he mixed it up. Because as much as you had Brady Oliveira barreling through, like you had Rashid Bailey in the mix. He had like two, like one was called back on a penalty. I think O'Leary Orange had the call, illegal block call. But there was a couple of like, side to side,
Bailey.
right?
Rashid
Where
Bailey,
he's sweeping around the line, but the line did a great job to move it over. Unfortunately, there was a flag on O'Leary Orange, but like he was mixing it up. Like the defensive line couldn't get into a rhythm with Montreal, like at least too much into a rhythm because of that mix up. And it seemed like there'd be run, and short pass. And then there was that one long pass you weren't expecting in the rain. Like I thought it was the rhythm of Winnipeg's offense, I thought was really good tonight. And I think that allowed Oliveira as well, right? Because they couldn't just lock in on him. When you think on a day like today, they could have, or a night like tonight because of the rain, but they really weren't able to because you had to be prepared for anything. And they established that pretty early. Like once they got through that first drive and started getting that rhythm and making a few plays and stringing along a few first downs. I remember talking to Wolotarski, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and he was saying, my favorite football is when we're just, that rhythm and tempo was going, right? And he's relating it all to his music. It's just like when you get into it, you feel it. And he's like, and that's it. He's like, when we're getting into that, one play first down, 2 plays first down, and it's next up, and they just keep going. That's when they're playing their best. And they had that going a few times tonight, not as often as usual. And again, like we said, the injuries, the rain, the babies, all that stuff, it's a little bit different, but he did a great job with the assets they had. And, guys stepped up. Greg McCrae's another guy I thought played well.
Yeah,
He's another guy that stepped up. So, like the guys that needed to step up did. And like I say, you didn't need 40 points tonight. So,
yeah, like Kurt Roach. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Roche. Anyway, Roche.
Yeah, it's Roche.
Très bien. Well, you know what? Maybe Will Jefferson's French is better than mine. Mercy, he said. Mercy. Love that. Kurt was watching
Mercy
live on Facebook. What's going on, Kurt? Says McCrae played great as well. Very versatile, change of pace guy. I hope we still have Zach. Zach, are you still there? What did you see from Greg McCrae? Because it was really his, debut, for lack of a better way to put it, in 2023.
Well, I was nervous that Dembski wasn't playing because, as you call him, he's the Canadian Swiss Army knife. He can run, he can catch, he can take the top off a defense. He's a very unique player, and I thought McCrae acquitted himself well. I mean, look at his average. He had 4 carries for 49 yards, including that. What was that large of? That was a massive run in the first 34-yard run.
Hmm.
Had 12.3 yard average. So I thought McRae was great, and I just love how Buck mixed up the running game with Bailey, and even Colaro's rushed once, and Oliveira I thought really ran with purpose tonight. I
Mhm.
thought he was trucking guys, running guys over, rolling around, staying on his feet. I hate to say it because he's not Andrew Harris, but he reminded me very much of Andrew Harris, and I believe, like Harris, he also caught some passes out of the backfield. He caught two for 19 yards, and I just thought the versatility and just the purpose that he ran with, he really jumped off the field to me.
Zach, I want to piggyback on that because like Oliveira is getting to that point in his career now, right? Like now he's got his second year.
Yeah,
Like a running back's career is not long. Like this is now getting into prime Oliveira. And this
yeah,
was a game that we would like to see from prime Oliveira, right? Now it's a matter, can you string that together for, games out of the season? And that's kind of what I want to see next from him. It's just, we're a few weeks in, he's played well, but, we've got a whole 3/4 of a season to go. So, but I like that aspect that you brought up because we had Andrew Harris in Winnipeg at a time where, that was peak Andrew Harris and maybe even the twilight of his peak a little bit. But now this is the new blood, right? Like in a few years, we might be having those conversations about Brady Oliveira like we do about Andrew Harris. It's too early to tell yet, but he's the number one guy. And I think tonight he really did play like it. When you needed him, in the rain, he got
yeah.
the rest, like you kind of owe it to your teammates at that point when you're not practicing all the time and they, you're being supportive where you can, but it matters what you do on the field, when the game is on. And he really delivered today.
Purely respectfully speaking, there's a ways to go for Brady Oliveira to get to that Andrew Harris status, right? That
Totally.
guy
Yeah.
played well over a decade, was an MOC candidate over and over and over again. He won a whole pile of Grey Cups and was instrumental in each of those Grey Cup victories. And I say he won past tense. He's still winning them, right? He's won three
Yeah.
straight. He won one in BC and was an absolute beast in that game against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And
Why you got to bring
that,
that up, Darren?
But,
Come
well,
on.
but that's what I'm
we're
getting
talking
at,
about a
Darren.
guy's legacy, right?
But there was a time though where Andrew Harris, 2 years in when he's back in BC, like it starts somewhere, right? Like this is what I'm
No
saying is
question.
Oliveira's got the opportunity now.
So
Like
when I say respectfully to Brady, he's got a ways to go.
yeah,
That said, he's showing us game in and game out, not just the production and talent level, but he is showing, you know, he's showing like that passion. He's showing that real grit, that real
Yeah.
pride to play for his hometown team, do what you need to do during the week so your body is good on game day, and then you go out there and you go to war for your brothers and your teammates. I'm so impressed with Brady Oliveira. He does awesome stuff off the field. Then you talk to the guy and just how engaging and down to earth he is, and how intelligent he is and how insightful he is. And then you see him go out there and just smack guys in the mouth.
Oh, that's
For
his MO, Darren,
It's unbelievable.
right? Like
He's outstanding.
he's the hammer and the defenders are nails. He's not taking contact.
Yeah.
He's initiating contact, and I just love watching him. I just call him he's a hammer. He's just hammering guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too, though. You talk about the character of this, like that's a unique part of this team too, right? Like you have him, doing the whole dog rescue thing and, using his platform to the best of his abilities. I think he's gone viral more times for saving, puppies than for, his football. Another guy is Drew Wolotarski, with the music. Like these guys have other things that come out, like that get them away from football. And but they make them interesting characters, like, Drew Brolatarski. The amount of times he shows up. I love interviewing that guy. He's like,
That's good.
Bro. But they do have that character outside of football that I think actually makes you a better football team, right? Like these guys have outlets that they get to. I also thought it was interesting that they went to go play paintball after that loss to BC, right? They had a little offense versus defense paintball. And, like they don't get worked up. They have things to kind of like decompress, I guess, if you will. And I'm wondering how much of an aspect that has on their ability to or their success that they've had over the last few years. But it's really interesting with these guys too, like off the field, how much they do. Even Willie Jefferson, he's at like every sporting event in the winter because he's living here now. I think I saw him at like few ice games, they're at Jets games. Jamarcus Hardrick is the biggest
Holly's
Gold
everywhere
Eyes Sea Bears fan. Holly, yeah, like same
doing
deal.
charity work. Yeah.
She's been really involved in the community. So, you look at this team, hats off to them, right? Because they're very intertwined in the community. So even the guys that are not from here, I still feel like they kind of get that little bit of hometown feel. And maybe guys like Brady Oliveira and Nick Dembski kind of rubs it off a little bit because they see how important it is to those guys who are born and bred here. You guys are from here. Could you imagine dressing up for the blue and gold on IG Field in front of sellouts or near sellout crowds, or going on the road wearing the W on your helmet and on your shoulder? Like, that's a pretty cool thing, but it feels like it's seeping out to the rest of the team, which is kind of cool.
So before we get into our Walby's Warrior, Westwood's wide to the right, our bonfire burning point, as Bruce just pointed out, his bonfire burning point for tonight. Would love to see you guys join the live chat and give us the moment in the game that really turned the tides for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and sealed the victory 17-3 tonight against the Montreal Alouettes, handing them their first loss of the season. But before we do that, well, game balls too. Before we do that, we got to give a shout out to our good friends at Shannon's Irish Pub. If you've never been to Shannon's, you got to check it out. If you're not downtown much, if you ever find yourself downtown, or you know what, maybe you want to make yourself available downtown, go check them out at Shannon's Irish Pub, 175 Carlton Street. It's just a quick bubble screen down the block from True North Square. Eclectic atmosphere underneath the streets. I mean that literally. They got 21 beers on tap, Jets and Blue Bombers game day specials, home and away. Every single game, they got specials, and then just amazing food. They got your pub classics. Their wings are off the charts, but then they've got some really creative culinary choices as well, including their wild boar and venison burger that you got to check out. ShannonsIrishPub.ca. You can find them on Instagram at Shannon's Irish Pub as well.
Sorry, what was that burger?
Wild boar and venison.
Ooh, okay. All right.
There's like a blueberry compote on it, and it's really good. And their wings, man, like these aren't your little skimpy, chain restaurant wings. They're really good and done right.
Wings I expect, but wild boar, man.
Yeah, they got some good stuff there.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah. Well, we've been there after a few Sea Bears games, Darren. So you didn't bring that to my attention. They had wild boar burgers, so we're gonna have to order one of those on you.
Well, Zach, your video's in and out, but I'm glad your voice is still there. We know you're still there.
I'm here.
All the Bonfire Firestarters out there know you're still there because we need your input on some of these Game Day After Dark features that you created, that you coined. So Emerson texted the Bonfire hotline, 204-816-TIPS, 204-816-8477. Fans texting me during the game, during the week, whenever. 2 in the morning, 2 at night, 2 in the afternoon. I kid, of course. But I'm engaging with you guys and chatting. So, if Twitter puts a limit on your stuff, text the hotline. Standard message rates apply. You can find it in the video description below as well. But Emerson texted me tonight. He said, Willie J made Cody his B tonight.
It was a nightmare today. It was a nightmare for Fajardo tonight. Even that batted down ball, he almost had the sack, which was nice though, because Lawson ended up getting the sack against his old team. So I like that. Yeah. But like Jefferson's really the one that set that up for him. That was a huge assist on that sack. Jefferson, we really talked about Jefferson. He had a pretty good game today.
Hang on. I want to give Willie Jefferson my Walby Warrior tonight. The guy was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's my choice. I don't know what you guys think.
Are we allowed to pick the same guy? Because that's who I'd go with for that. But
of course, you can pick the same guy. The gloves are off, and after dark, we get to do whatever we just run on passion and instinct.
That's right.
So okay, we got Walby Warrior, Happy Honker, Game Ball. What am I missing?
Well, we'll get to
Burning.
It. Don't worry about it, Joey. We will baptize you into. We'll christen you into.
We'll walk you through it, buddy.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, guys. Hold my hands. Be gentle. All right.
Well, Zach, maybe because we have to hold Joey's hand tonight, you can pick your Walby's Warrior next.
So my Walby's Warrior is a guy that I knew Montreal's offense would test again and again, and that was the field side corner Abu Daramy-Swaray, ADS as we like to call him. He did get beat on one big Cody Fajardo pass to Austin Mack, but Austin Mack made a great adjustment to the ball. I thought he drew an offensive pass interference call early in the game, and I thought he wasn't really at one time, and I think uh, he was picked on. They were going after him the entire game, and I think he held his own, and that's a lot of pressure, right? Like that secondary was much maligned last week. He had a rough week. He started that game with a PI in the first drive of the game for BC, which kind of set the tone for the game. And I think he came out and he rose to the challenge. So he's my Wallabies warrior.
Love it. So you sticking with Willie J, Joey?
I think so. That's why I want to know the determination of what the different awards are.
The guy that went to war tonight. The guy that was the warrior out there. I like your Abu Daramy-Swaray pick, Zach. That's a solid one.
Was it Swarmey that had the big hit on Mac 2? Like he kind of got juked out a little bit. I want to say it was in either the first or second quarter.
He did have a big hit.
Because it was a really nice run by Mac. Like it was a nice little fake out, a little juke, and then he kind of cut back. But the immediate smack, it was really hard. I kind of thought there'd be a little bit more reaction to the hit because he hit him out of bounds and it was a hard hit. But no, he played really well. But I think I still have to give it to Willie Jefferson, man. Like, he was all over Fajardo. Fajardo couldn't get comfortable. I mean, it forced him to make some plays, which he did make from time to time, but not enough, obviously. I mean, they kept him out of the end zone the whole game. Kind of owned him like they did with during his Saskatchewan days, right? Like that kind of didn't change. Yeah. But I saw a little bit difference with him. I think that knee injury nagged him last year. That looks like it's better. Fajardo I'm talking about. So we saw a little more from him, but it was because of Jefferson, man. Like he was just all over the place. That guy's prime just never ends. Like that guy is just like it. He doesn't.
He's special.
He's special because you don't see any decay in his game whatsoever. Like there's a couple of times tonight, where there's one. Was it? Who was it? Bryant, I think. Like Gray and Bryant. I think it was on the sack. Towards the end of the game where Kolaris got sacked. Like it was a little bit of a break in the line there where they got through pretty easily. But like, you see things like that. It's nothing to be concerned about, but there's guys that are getting older and you kind of see here and there where you need the support. But Willie Jefferson, man, like he's just all on all the time. It's insane.
It really is insane. The guy is, he's got a different DNA, outstanding football player. And,
I don't know if Zach, you've stood beside him, but like Darren, you have. Like that's just a dude that like pro athlete, man, football, basketball, like whatever. Like he's just an intimidating dude. He's a nice guy.
I saw him at the Sea Bears game, and he said the same. He was there with Holly and a couple of the guys on the offensive line, and he said the same thing he said to me after I saw him at the Canada-Nigeria national game a couple years ago. So he was courtside for both of these games. He said the same thing to me. He said, I need a 10-day contract. He wants to show people what he can do on the court.
I believe him, man. That guy is just a pure athlete, like, and strong, man. Like that guy, if you need to know the arm muscles, just look at him. They're very detailed. He's just a jacked dude.
Let alone that, he can touch his knees with his fingertips when he's just, arms are resting at his side, standing up straight. And he can run like a wide receiver, like he played in college. And he can dip and swim, and he can wrap guys up and has the strength to do that. And now he has, I think he's always had the natural talent of the mind, but add that with experience. That's why he's everywhere. Pass knockdowns, strip sacks, quarterback pressures, tackles for loss, tackles to the edge, running guys down. He's just like the freakish athlete that has all of the pieces. If you could Frankenstein a football player to play in the CFL, you kind of just say, I don't need any of this. I need Willie Jefferson.
I want to see a Seabears celebrity dunk contest now, because like Jefferson's one, but I'm sure there's a few guys on the Bombers that could probably
that was
pretty creatively.
That was the
other. Not Liam Dobson.
Well, you said there you go. You said Liam Dobson, and he's the other one that said something that stood out to me. And he said, "I'm like, would you be playing physical down there like we just saw the Seabears do?" And you'd be like, "I'd be smashing backboards." is what Liam Dobson said to me.
Jamarcus Hardrick also told me the same thing after that game. Like he said,
Yes.
they got to give me a tryout. He wants to sign as an emergency player. So these guys.
Well, Liam Dobson had that viral video of him dunking in college.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I was saying.
Oh yeah,
he can dunk too.
Sorry, Zach,
Yeah, he can dunk too. I mean,
these guys are athletes, man. It doesn't matter if you're a 300-pound Canadian O-lineman. They're athletes, man.
Yeah,
I'm 5'6". Zach Collaros' ranges from 3.
So I missed that one.
I wonder what Zach Collaros' range is from 3-point land. I don't think he'd be throwing down any dunks, but
I don't know if his form would be good, but I just trust him to
full court.
I just trust him to throw it like a football.
Yeah, full court threat.
The shot from the dot, you know, if he ever steps up to do the shot from the dot at the Seabears game, I think Zach Collaros is going home with a vacation for him and the family. Okay, so we go Walby's Warrior, then we do Westies wide to the right in homage to my killer co-hosts for so many years on TSN 1290. So Westwood's wide to the right, the moment in the game that we did not like. And, you know, Joey, you can get creative with this. It can be a moment you didn't like, a play you didn't like. It could be something that just irked you, something you would change, whatever it is. You got an idea to get us started, Zach?
Oh, I do. And it's the guy that's supposed to get us out of a jam, and he kind of jammed us, and that's Jamison Sheehan. He had a rough outing, gentlemen. He punted 2 balls illegally out of bounds, giving Montreal good field position. And then he had the snap issue at the end. Like, that was so frustrating because they could have gone up 13-0, 3 scores. Not 3 scores, but it just psychologically to fumble that snap, which wasn't a great snap, but he wasn't able to get it down for Sergio Castillo, and it really gave Montreal a little bit of momentum going into the half when, quite frankly, they didn't deserve any. They had been dominated in time of possession and on the lines of scrimmage, and I just thought, instead of going up 13-0 to finish off with the momentum there, he was part of that special teams unit that struggled. And then he also finally took a delay of game penalty late in the fourth quarter when they were going for field goal, which kind of took them out of field goal range, if I'm not mistaken. So Jam got us in some jams tonight, gentlemen. He's my Westies wide to the right.
Yeah, if I'd go wide to the right, it'd be the halftime play where it felt like Castillo got saved because, speaking of wide to the right, at his field goal attempt, and the timeout came in just in time. So you figure, okay, like this guy doesn't miss much and he'll hit it again. Then there was just that kerfuffle to end it. Like, I don't know what that was, but you're right, man. That was a big opportunity. And at that time, we're not as confident, right? Like it's a 2-score game, and you had a chance to make it a 3-score game going into the second, well, not a 3-score game, but, getting up to, 13 points and putting the pressure on them a little bit, like, close to 2 touchdowns down. So that would be my wide to the right moment, because that was a bit of a panic where I'm thinking, yep, you could have went it with all the momentum there, and you're giving it away. That's a good way to put it, Zach. I think that's, but that would be, I think, by far, like, I mean, there was one early in the game where Wolodarski missed a catch that went through his fingers, but it wasn't anything that cost them, right? Like, I can't think of a moment other than that really like irked me. And like, again, there was that one sack towards the end where Collaros got sacked, but it, at that point, I think it was already 17-3. So, maybe just 17-0, whatever.
So Tamara, who's watching live on YouTube, what's going on, Tamara? She was very upset we didn't have Bonfire midweek this past week. But Zach, you and I made our picks. We will go through all of that on the show this coming week. Should I share the news? You're on a bye week this week.
I'm on a bye week. What, are you kicking me off midweek now? Is Joey replacing me? I actually don't think that's a bad idea. He's awesome.
No way, man. I am no Schnitzy, man. This is your domain. I'm new here.
What would be your nickname? Slattery. I know.
Slats.
Joey.
Slats.
Slats.
Slats. Slaughterhouse.
Slaughterhouse.
What else have I had throughout my days? I've had a few creative ones, but Slaughterhouse was one that drinking in high school. Guys would be like, Slaughterhouse.
Yeah. Slaughterhouse.
That doesn't speak to my personality at all. Like, I was not a Slaughterhouse in any way. Maybe
I kind of want to call you
Flat a little bit, but
I want to call you Flats because my mom says, "Oh, I saw Joey Flattery on the TV today."
Flattery.
Yeah, I get. Sometimes I'll tell that to people, right? Like my name's pretty straightforward.
You are
It's
flattering, though.
Slattery, but there's for some reason people want to say Slattery, or
What?
Slatter. They'll add another L. The Slatterly is another one I get a lot, like a
No,
lot. Yeah, that's one that
that's
I don't
brutal.
understand because it's almost harder to say. It's Marblemouth, Slatterly, like Slattery is just easy. But when I say people, it's Slattery like flattery, just the
Or
S instead of the
battery.
F. Or
Yeah.
battery, yeah. The battery, actually low battery Slattery. I've gotten that one too. Slowy, they're all out there, man. I got a few. They called me that at my high school graduation. Slowy. That's what's set up there. Slowy Slats, I think, or something like that.
I like that. I don't even know where to go with that, but I do want to mention, as I was talking about Tamara.
Shannon's Irish Pub.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Speaking of Shannon's, how about that Shannon's?
Yeah, how about that? I think I'm going to go for that burger. No, for real. ShannonsIrishPub.ca. Go check them out. Tamara points out that the game on TV and the air horns are very annoying.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. Love that so much. I love it. Because she's mad. Like, that is like a Montreal thing. They've owned it. That's why I love it. It is annoying. I'm not arguing that. But like Montreal said, no, this is our thing. When you come here, like, when you come to Winnipeg or you go to Saskatchewan, you just have the crowd, right? You've got cowbells, whatever. But like just 30,000 people is one thing. You don't have that every game in Montreal. But man, it is still an intimidating place to go, and it pisses off everybody else that's watching that's not from Montreal. I actually am a huge fan of that for reasons like not in terms of that I think it is annoying. I agree with that 100%. But man, I love that they just adopted that and said like, no, we're not changing that. I don't care how annoying it is. You guys can keep complaining because we only care about our Montreal fans. And I'm like, hey man, good on you.
I'm looking for attendance tonight.
I like
it. Looked pretty thin,
Joe.
but sorry, go ahead, Schnitzy.
Well, I was gonna say I agree. The air horns are sort of annoying, but I think it's kind of like a quirky Montreal thing that they bring, the fans bring, and that's great. And I think it's funny that it annoys a lot of Winnipeg fans because we talked about it last year when we played in Montreal. When we beat them 35-20. I remember that game. Jerry Grant had a punt return touchdown. But it seems like a cool place to play, although I think for the play-by-play guys, you can't see the field very well. Hey, guys? Like,
They're far from the field.
Yeah.
Well,
what's that? Who's far from the field, sorry?
The broadcast booth, like for play-by-play.
Oh, yeah. That stadium is really nice, but it's odd. Like, I've played lacrosse on there, and I've coached too. So, like, I remember we were setting up our camera when I was coaching, and it was like, it's pretty big, but everything it's like wide out. Like, it's not on top, right? Like I feel like the more modern stadiums, you're kind of more on top of the action. But
it is definitely not a modern stadium, but it's a truly unique one. It's very Canadian. You know what I mean?
It feels like Hogwarts a little bit,
and all that. But
good day for a Quidditch match. Yeah, totally feels like Hogwarts.
It does, man.
Love that.
It's kind of majestic when you go there in person. It's an underrated stadium. Like that's for a university in particularly. It's amazing.
So my Westwood wide to the right is for those that don't like the air horns. They don't bother me too much. They kind of remind me of the vuvuzelas of the South African World Cup, 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was. However, if I was in person, I think I would probably hate the air horns too. So, hey, Tamara, thanks for joining us. And we got Bonfire Midweek coming Wednesday. Is it going to be Wednesday? I think it's Wednesday. We're going to go Wednesday at 7:30.
I think we'll do Wednesday. Well, as long as you're okay with me doing it from the lake. I'm like Walby now. We both, we prefer to do things from the lake. It's our happy place.
See, that's the good and the bad of Elon Musk, right? Like he screws up Twitter, but then at the same time he has Starlink, so you can join us from parts unknown in southern Manitoba Lake Country.
You have Starlink?
Okay, so
I'm so
yes,
we won't get into it, but man, we're gonna have a talk one day. Like I'm so intrigued by Starlink.
Yes, it's a pretty great thing. I've got it out in like Lundar Beach.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not mine, it's the neighbors, but
you mooch off of them.
Well, he allows me to use it. It's
nice.
Very kind. Bombers fan, so he knows what's up.
Oh, he knows what's up. By the way, Twitter exploded today. I know we don't want to get into this too much, but there's a limit on how many posts you can read?
Yeah, apparently they're worried about robots companies using robots and automation to like scrape data from Twitter. So they limited people to like 600 tweets or 600 tweets viewed. And then there was more if you pay the monthly fee or whatever. It's like, 1,600, whatever. But
All
like
data
people
scraping
would reach their limit. Like Elliot Friedman, it's Canada Day. It's NHL free agent frenzy, right? And he's just working. And he
there
hits
was
the
NBA
limit.
free agency too. Like that was by design. I'm sure of it. Like in North America, particularly, like you have 2 big free agencies happening right now. Yeah, like
But
data scraping. That's so stupid.
Not to
People are
get
gonna
so
be
much
Twitter scrapping.
Not to get so much into it, but this is a guy who wants to monetize Twitter, and he says, okay, we need advertisers. Good. Advertisers want eyeballs. I'm going to put a limit on how many things people can see before I just shut them out. It makes no sense.
It's stupid. Honestly, Twitter's the one where if it goes, I'm all right with it, man. I'm not going to miss it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like remember there was that time, is Twitter going to shut down or whatever? This is like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I feel like, Instagram, probably even Facebook, like, there's like certain things on there where I'm like, I'd probably be
Analytica.
What's that?
Cambridge Analytica.
Cambridge Analytica. MySpace.
Remember the election?
Yeah. But that's the thing. I think I would, there'd be certain things about that I miss, but Twitter is just like, and it's like mostly toxic. That's the other thing too. Like it's even before Elon Musk.
It is, Twitter is tailor-made for sports fans.
100%. That's the thing, right? Like when you
use
get
it for that, it's great.
Yeah.
And don't engage in chirp sessions with other fans. Well, I think they should buy out Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler. Well, no, I don't think. What are you talking about? They got to get up, idiots, right? And they start personal attacks, right?
That's where it gets to be a problem. Like it's the personal attacks, but I wouldn't miss it at all.
And heads up, everybody. No, I don't think the Jets would think about buying Mark Scheifele out. Be serious.
Breaking Bonfire Sports.
Right. Well, Rod Peterson today said an NHL agent told him, he tweeted this before, I hit my limit on Twitter. He tweeted that an NHL agent told him that the Nashville Predators are poking around on acquiring Connor Hellebuck. Now they got Askarov. They drafted 11th overall a couple years ago. They've got
who is that?
Nashville.
I don't know.
So Central Division nightmare.
Yeah. Does he want to go there though? I know we're not.
I don't think it.
Jets,
like, does he have a no move? Does he have a no trade?
That's what I'm wondering. But also, I feel like there is a sense of loyalty to that guy. Like we know how the Jets operate, so I feel like even if there wasn't, if he was like, I have teams I want to go to, they would probably do their best to make it work. I'd hold on to him. I'd wait for the desperation to grow as we get closer to trade deadline. Like there's no real desperation at this point of the season. It's the off season.
Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
We're definitely cousins with the beards tonight. Oh, I didn't even.
I'm going to turn my hat around now.
Okay.
There we go.
Give
the viewers what they want.
Give the viewers what they want.
The bearded boys.
Okay, let's get it back.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's get it back on track here. Bombers win 17-3 tonight, and we've talked about social media, politics, international economics,
French horns,
and the Winnipeg Jets and free agency. So now we'll get back to the football, and now that we've done Walby's Warrior and Westwood's Wide to the Right, let's start getting into it, guys. We have our Bonfire burning point.
Yeah,
the
baby.
Moment in the game that changed everything.
Alexander for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I think there's no arguing that.
It's just like because at that time of the game for me, like that changes the whole game if he doesn't make that interception, because that was a pretty easy touchdown if he's not there at that exact time. Like he came in like Superman, not only knocked the pass down, but you get the possession back and give your offense better field position. To me that one stood out like a sore thumb in a good way.
You agree, Zach?
Yeah, we were only up 10-0 at that point, and they were driving. And he picks. It was almost a red zone. It was a red zone TD. I was going to say almost TD because it wasn't, like you said, Joey. It was a touchdown that he took away from Cody. He's on the 2-yard line, and he just played it perfectly and fooled Cody Fajardo. and then he took it all the way. I think we got up to the Montreal 50, and then
46.
Was it the fall? Was it the ensuing drive that we had the Dalton Schoen touchdown? So I mean,
I'm gonna walk you guys
that's
through
a
this. Okay.
14-point swing. That's huge. That's
I'm
the
gonna
definition of a burning point. It was sizzling. Come on,
So I'm gonna walk you through the third quarter
come
here.
on now.
Okay. In brief, this is the third quarter, with obviously the Bombers leading 10-0 to begin the third quarter after a shortened halftime. Montreal's first possession, William Stanback fumbles. Dietrich Nichols punches it out, recovered by Demario Houston, who just seems to be Johnny on the spot week in and
Yeah,
week
loose
out.
change.
Loose change, exactly.
Yeah,
Well said,
baby.
Zach.
Tinkle, tinkle.
Winnipeg's offense goes 2 and out. Montreal's on the field. It's the Malik Clements blitz from the weak side that creates the pressure. Cam Lawson gets his first of 2 sacks on the night. The Bombers get the ball back. Another 2 and out for the Bombers offense. So 2 straight 2 and outs. Then Montreal gets the Keon Julian Grant 69-yard catch and run, sets them up in real nice position to score. That's when the Brandon Alexander interception comes on his own too. A 62-yard interception return all the way to the Montreal 46. And then Winnipeg uses the run game to control the ball, settle things down. 6 plays, 51-yard drive, capped by a Dalton Schoen 21-yard touchdown in the back of the end zone to go up 17-0. I think it's very hard to disagree that that's your bonfire burning point tonight. BA with a real nice pick, stepping in front and kind of grabbing it in his guts and then taking off, breaking tackles on the sideline.
Yeah, that was incredible. I mean, I think it was just synonymous with the way the defense played tonight. I think, again, the Bombers had chances to put the game away, and the offense either couldn't do it or something happened, and the defense just came up with timely turnovers, and that was the golden goose. That was a massive 14-point swing, the very epitome of a burning point.
Yes, sir. Okay, now it's time for my favorite segment of Game Day After
Yes, sir.
Dark. Oh yes, time for your happy honker.
What's a happy honker, Darren? We got to tell Joey here.
Well, first things first, it's in honor of Cactus Jack Wells of CJOB of many years gone by. Legend. The Blue Bombers press box at IG Field is called the Two Jacks press box inside the Bob Irving Media Center. Right?
Yeah.
Cactus Jack had his Happy Honker Award that people would kind of honk their horns after the game as they're, driving and leaving on St. James Street back in the day. So Happy Honker. Well, you describe it for us, Zach.
Well, yeah, it's the kind of like the thing that flies under the radar that really made an impact that no one's talking about, or just maybe a smaller thing you noticed, something from a player or coach that we haven't talked about yet. For me, the happy honker just goes to Jackson Jeffcoat. I don't know how many pressures he had. I don't think it's any coincidence that Willie Jefferson, he was able to do Willie things that only Willie can do. And it coincided with Jeffcoat coming back. He has the most pressures in the league. He's just a game wrecker. And I saw him get double teamed a number of times, and that just opens up Willie to do Willie things. And I thought, Cameron Lawson there is able, because Jeffcoat draws a double team, Cam Lawson can get a couple sacks, and that's huge to have Lawson, because I think Schmeckel wasn't doing a whole lot in the interior there. So I think he's the straw that stirs the drink in some way, where he's back and you see this massive impact on the entire defense.
Cam Lawson coming back from the injured list, so a big addition to provide some depth and even more than depth, provide some impact alongside Ricky Walker and Jake Thomas on the interior of that D-line. I'm going to give my Happy Honker Award tonight to Nick Dembski and the growing family. I've been talking with him for
nice.
Frankly, I've been talking with him for months about him having his first child with his partner. right? And how excited he is. And you can check it out on the YouTube channel. We played it in the pregame show, but if you just want the Nick Dembski interview that I did with him, that's up on the YouTube channel as well in the video section. You can see his face, just the pride of talking about being a dad. And, he's stressed and it's during the football season and all these things. I know he wanted to be with his teammates tonight, especially following a tough loss. Dembski and the Bombers have played some wildly entertaining games. We talked about that. So many crazy games in Montreal through the years. But he was back where he needed to be, and wishing him and his growing family all the best. That is my happy honker.
Do we?
Very nice.
I wonder if
I
we got
had
the
to do
update.
it.
I wonder
I
if
had
he
to do the
baby
sound
today.
effect. Had to.
Yeah,
It'd be
did
kinda
they have
cool
the
if he had
baby
on a
today?
win.
Yeah.
No word.
Well, my happy honker, you guys, you gave some love to the defense, Schnitzy. I have to give it to Wolotarski. And this might,
Yeah.
I'm not here every game, but in the last few games, and he doesn't take it as the opportunity. I asked him about it. Do you feel with everything going on right now, this is your opportunity to kind of break out after a couple of seasons, 1 touchdown seasons? What does he have now? 3, 4?
Three in 3 games. That's huge.
Right. So he's really coming together and stepping up when he needs to be. And at that point in the game, too, we talk about the burning point or whatever. That opened up the floodgates a little bit because it wasn't going, I wouldn't say the floodgates, but that's what got them going. Right. Because I think was there not a turnover or called back play before that? Maybe the touchdown.
Greg McRae, the touchdown.
That's the one.
Greg McRae had a touchdown. Yeah.
So that one's called back, and then Wolotarski goes in, and it was a pretty nice catch. He's running into that, and that end zone is weird too, right? Because it cuts off, it goes right up to the track, right? So he gets that, and then he gets that little push. It's almost like I guess the equivalent would be in baseball when a guy's running towards the warning track, to make a nice catch.
Totally.
That's what it felt like. But you have, people running after you trying to hurt you too. So that's a pretty impressive catch that he made. And I love his celebrations. I love when him and Zach start doing the guitar solos in front of each other.
Air guitar.
Yeah. So I have to give my happy honker to Drew Wolotarski today. I think it's kind of collective over the first part of the season, but today I think he wasn't the turning point, but was a turning point, at least for the first half.
Yeah, he was an impact player. I don't want people to overlook just how beautiful the touch on that football was in that Drew Wolotarski touchdown pass. Zach Collaros makes it look so easy, and it ain't. That is such incredible arm talent.
Even that Schoen throw.
Yeah.
The one that he threw to Schoen.
A little bit more open, but yeah.
No, but even just in the rain and everything else, it was just a wide open to him. It was just over the head of the defender, such an easy catch. And I'm thinking about it when they showed the replay and you see how hard it's raining at the time. You're like, oh man, he's pretty good at this football thing. I think this is going to work out for him.
Yeah, I think so. So now that we've gone through all of those, we have to hand out some game balls. And I will kick it off tonight. We give game balls. So this is how I approach the game balls. Zach, you approach the game balls, in a more traditional sense. I approach the game balls as if I was a coach on the team. And I want to give it to somebody who maybe wasn't Brady Oliveira tonight with a ton of yards and played hard, and, Willie Jefferson with the great stat line and making an impact or that sort of thing. I'm going to give a game ball to Cam Lawson for just getting healthy and then being rock solid in the middle of that D-line. And I'm giving a game ball to Greg McRae. We just talked about his touchdown being pulled back, but if I'm a coach on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I'm looking at Greg McRae and saying, you have stayed ready, because when your name was called, when your shoulder was tapped and we needed you on the roster, you weren't just there, you showed up, and you showed really, really well. So those are one guy on offense, one guy on defense that I'm giving my game balls to tonight.
Who's next?
Nice, DB. You go, Joey.
I'm going Brady Oliveira, man. I'm not going to flip the script on that. He played so well tonight. I guess I'll give the laces of the game ball to Rashid Bailey for his run game today. I know it was only 12 yards, but he should have had more if it weren't for that illegal block. But no, Brady Oliveira, the run game as a whole was just, was on tonight. And that's, you can give the game ball the whole offensive line if you wanted to. But
Nice.
Oliveira today, you needed him tonight. Rain day, you're down a receiver. Big game to bounce back. And as we talked about, right, here's a guy that needs to start making his push. You're just getting into your prime. Now there's no more rookie experience, first time starter experience, and I think today that was I wouldn't say a statement game, but it was a proving game a little bit. This is a guy, when you needed to depend on him, you kind of had that Andrew Harris trust in him this time, and he pulled through.
Yeah, just to be a bit different, I'll give mine. I'll have 5 of them, Darren. I know this is going to give you an ulcer,
5,
but five
I'm already
for
in
the
debt to
5.
Wilson
I know.
Sporting Goods Incorporated. They invoiced me again.
You get a game ball. You get a game ball. You get a game ball. I know. I just love how you pay for it. Maybe I should pay for those game balls. But dude, the offensive line, gentlemen, they had to make a statement. They, for the first time ever, looked beatable against BC, and they got owned. And it's just not something we're used to seeing. So I think the big question coming into this game is there's a bit of a narrative of, are they old? Are they all over the hill? Neufeld, Hardrick, not so much Gray, he's younger, Kolinkowski as well, but Neufeld, Hardrick, and Bryant into their 30s.
The penalties that were
and the
part
penalties,
of that. You're slow, you're old, you're holding, you're false starting because you're afraid of getting beat off the edge. Yeah.
So I think people that saw that game, it's like blood's in the water. The Sharks are circling. It's like, are these guys beatable? And we know Montreal, guys like Nick Usher, right? They have a good D line, good front seven. And Noel Thorpe is a good D coordinator. He can cause problems. They like to blitz. And that O-line, they only gave up 1 sack, and they produced 174 yards of rushing. Not just from Brady Oliveira, but from Greg McCrae and Rashid Bailey. The running game was really clicking. I got to give Buck Pierce some love here. He might get another game ball. Yeah, you could give him the game ball. That'd be 6, I know. But
how about Marty Costello for whipping his boys into shape?
Well, and I think I was listening to the pregame with Game Day with you and Walby, DB, and I believe you guys talked about is it Avery Ellis, the middle linebacker for Montreal, that's that was out? D-end? Wasn't the middle linebacker out?
The linebacker that was out was Avery Williams.
Avery Williams, isn't he the MAC? Isn't he the middle linebacker?
He's
so I think. Yep. So when your middle linebacker's out, your starting middle linebacker, I think it makes sense to attack them with the run. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that was the only reason it worked, but I just think they exposed Montreal's front.
Getting a little bright on my face here as I pull up the
you're exposed, DB.
The white depth.
You guys look really warm, like golden. I'm very white. I feel like
this is game day after dark. You're huddled around the bonfire late at night. It's golden.
Sorry, I can fix that. Hold on. I think I can. Give me 1 second.
Warm it up, Slats. Come on.
There we go. Is that warm enough? I think that's
that's
no, now it's cold.
Ooh.
Oh, it's getting warmer.
We'll see.
There you go.
Bonfire warm. Okay, here we go.
Embers, just sitting around the embers.
You were breathing smoke. You were needing to get away from the fire a little bit. Maybe a bad joke to make tonight with
Well, there was a lot of smoke. How about that smoke?
Well,
is it bad where you are?
How about that smoke?
Actually, it is. The smoke is bad here too.
Yeah, but I don't know. Today didn't seem too bad in Winnipeg, but.
No, we've been very fortunate compared to Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC, and then the East as well. It's been tough out there.
Yeah, I was talking to my folks today in Northern Ontario. They're not having fireworks or anything today because of it. So it's all over, man, from coast to coast, and we've just been right in the middle. And we've been fortunate here that we didn't have to deal with it, other than some hazy days, but we really had it pretty good.
Yep.
Good comment from Bruce Martell, who's bringing it again tonight. What's going on, Bruce? Greg McCrae gives us more. Greg McCrae gives us more versatility with a dual running threat, and he is also a good receiver who can fly with great speed, says Bruce. Well said. Uh,
Yeah.
he's kind of the weapon we're seeing more and more of in the CFL, and I think Paul Police, Buck Pierce, the Blue Bombers, that Dembski usage, that Andrew Harris usage, that Rashid Bailey usage. Now Greg McCrae, even Janarian Grant at times, or the way Brandon Banks has been used in years gone by. Maybe not so much running the football, but shovel passes and stuff in the flats, bubble screens, those sorts of things. When you have so much space on a Canadian football field, like it's 63 point something yards wide. Everyone says 65. They're rounding up. I digress. When you have that much space,
such a purist.
And yes, indeed, I am. When you have the 20-yard end zone, you need to find guys that can make one guy miss. If you can make one guy miss, you can be home free. You can be a home run.
Yeah.
Go all the way to the house. And I think that threat, defensive coordinators league-wide are fully aware of. So I think that's why these smaller, speedier guys are getting more and more opportunities in the CFL.
Yeah.
Well said, DB. I think that's an awesome thing about the CFL. You got and NFL guys that come up here, though, they will say it too, that the athletes here are good. They're just I'm not saying they're the physical freaks of the NFL. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it gives an opportunity to guys who are amazing athletes. They just don't fit the NFL game. They're speedier and smaller. You see that in some of our DBs and
oh, Zach went bye-bye.
part of the CFL game too. The third pillar is all the space that's afforded to returners, and that special teams aspect of the CFL is so much fun. And I love seeing McCrae and that 34-yard run. Man, he had wheels. He just broke away from the first wave into the secondary.
Well, it's funny too. Like even like the size of the field. That's what Dakota Prukop was saying when he came back, right? Because he was playing in the USFL, and he said for the first few practices, he was just launching them through the end zone because the end zone's so much bigger. He's like, it was surprising how quickly he had to kind of get back to the American game, which he played his whole life. He said it was like flexing an old muscle, but it is an adjustment, and for some guys, it exploits their strengths. Perfect example. Austin Mack, that guy was an Ohio State wide receiver. Like that guy is no slouch, and he's a great athlete here too. And I think guys like him, and there's many to name, it's just because we watched him tonight, but I think guys come here from the NFL or from, American college, not sure what they're getting into. And then you realize like, man, this is a real league with real players and real coverage, right? Like, I'm thinking even of Mac when he's coming to Canada. Is he thinking like, oh, am I going to be playing in these, rink-a-dink stadiums? Do we even have TV rights? Is it going to be a webcast? Like, then you get here and it's like, oh, TSN, and they've got the spider cam and everything else. Like, you get to know real quick, especially when you come to the Western provinces where like even the attendance gets a little better. You realize like this is a real game, and it's not a how would I put it? I want to say like a tier 2 league because I'm not trying to say it compared to the NFL. They're two different games, right? But it is an elite league. Like you can't just walk in here and be like, oh, I haven't played football in a few years. I think I'm going to go try out for the Blue Bombers. Like that's just not how it works.
I will share on that point because I talk to people about this all the time. The NFL is the biggest and most talented league in the world. Okay. It always will be, unless something crazy happens, but it always will be because of the money and the infrastructure and everything that it's built itself to be, right? It's a multi-billion-dollar business and it's growing. It's crazy. Okay. That said, I think for a lot of people who watch the games on the American networks and then read about it and, watch stuff online and read about it and play the fantasy football and, see the beer ads and the food ads and all those things and all the cross promotion integration, they look at it and then they watch the games and the Super Bowl. And it's, oh gosh, it's Beyonce, or it's, these huge acts and all of the broadcast power that you're kind of talking about, Joey. That broadcast power, that flash, I think people don't realize how much of a sales tool that is. If you look at the game, if you look at the athletes, if you look at the action, rules and rules and different field sizes and all those things aside, if you look at the action on the field, it is way, way more comparable than a lot of people realize. Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco, long time in the NFL, widely known, widely regarded as one of the best route runners in recent NFL history, okay? Comes to the CFL, and he said it this past offseason. He's like, oh, these guys are good.
Yeah.
The NFL is so big that you think the guys that are cut are completely out of their league? No. They have 90-man off-season rosters. And if you're the 95th or the 91st or the 105th, you're probably in the CFL. You might be in the XFL. You might be in the USFL. But you're right there. Like Austin Mack has NFL game experience. Dietrich Nichols, if he was an inch taller, he could have gotten a more opportunity. He'd probably be in the NFL today. How many guys go from the CFL to the NFL and back and forth and back and forth? Why? Why would somebody go back and forth year to year like a Jamal Peters or a Marcus Sales or, a Winston
Stapleton.
Rose like Adam Bighill? Why would that happen if it's such a different level of athlete? It's not.
And that's what people have to understand, though, too. The NFL is the only Big Four league that doesn't have a development league, right? So if a guy's cut, you can't send a guy.
Well, the NCAA is their development league, right?
Totally, but you can't send a guy back is what I'm saying, right? It's like you can't, so like you don't have like a Manitoba Moose. So you can't say like, oh, you're good, but we need you here because there's no room on our roster or you need to improve on this or that. It is cutthroat. You are gone. Like it's, so like you're saying, these are hairs. Like you look at every other league, how many guys from, the Manitoba Moose are going up and down, to the Jets. In the NBA, the 10-day contracts, if they don't have people in the G League, which again, even the G League's relatively new, but, like other leagues have these developments and it works in the favor of the CFL. The other thing is a lot of these players that aren't from Canada played in D1 football, right? They played Division I, and that is a diehard fandom. So you have guys that are fans that are, in Cincinnati or, Kentucky, all these schools that, we don't always see in bowl games or the big bowl games, Ohio State, if they are one of the bigger teams like MAC, but these guys are tuning in like, oh, I remember him. That was because they're stars there in college. So when they come here, they're going to watch it. And that's the entertainment value. It's like, oh, where are they now? Like, oh, they're playing in the CFL. Wow, this game is pretty good. Oh, they didn't just fall off the wagon. They're Johnny like Manziel. I had this. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it's like 1.6% of NCAA players make it to the NFL. And that could be like for half a season.
Tim Tebow's a legend. He didn't basically other than the miracle he had with Denver, didn't really do anything. His career was so short-lived. That guy's a legend in Florida, right? Yeah,
how about Danny McManus? People don't realize Danny McManus, like if Danny McManus walks into Florida State University or walks into a Tallahassee bar, it's like it's Danny McManus. Like people like it's him and Jameis Winston, same level of recognition in Tallahassee, Florida. I'm telling you guys.
When Jeff Coat goes to Texas, every time they win a Grey Cup, it's like they roll out the red carpet because he was a star there. It's not like U Sports where, we're kind of keeping tabs. Like that is everything to those people in those markets. And going back to the skill level, DB, like I was in Toronto a couple of weeks ago, and I was at a bar talking to a bartender and he was just trashing the CFL, which, I'm not gonna get on that. It's a Toronto thing. It's an Ontario thing. If it doesn't work in Toronto, it doesn't work anywhere, which is total BS. And he's going off and I asked him, I said, well, why don't you watch it? Like your team won a Grey Cup. None of your teams are winning anything. Like you had the Raptors in 2019. You had the Blue Jays in 93. So why wouldn't you go root for your team? Like the essence of sports is cheering for the home team. And the Argonauts had a really good team last year that won the Grey Cup against probably the better team, but they beat them. Like that was a good game.
What did he
they
say?
Found a way to beat the best. And he goes, well, it's not the best of the best. And then I think Zach Clark might have been the example. He said, well, he should be going to the NFL, to get his shot there. And I'm thinking these guys want to play. They don't want to ride a bench. Like what? Like you're go in there hoping a guy gets hurt that you get your chance to have like 2 games. I'm like, no, man, these guys are stars in Canada, and that is okay because it's a real league. And then I bring up Johnny Manziel. I'm like, okay, so you're saying Johnny Manziel, who was, crazy, he wasn't first overall at the time, and that he dropped so low to Cleveland. He started for Cleveland. How'd that go? Yeah, he came to the CFL and he was riding pine while he was here.
And throwing picks.
Tell me again. And then I asked him the same deal. I say, well, do you watch NCAA football? Oh yeah, because the best of the best. I'm like, well, most of the guys that you watch are probably in the CFL. Ding dong. Anyway, it wasn't
the best players on the field. The best players on the field in the NCAA. Not all, like just the best of them. They're the best of the best. Well, the best of the best of the best are in the CFL now.
Like there was a kid that I covered in North Bay, Ontario, where Mike O'Shea's from. And he is now playing as a practice, or he might have, I think his rights are with the Argonauts for the CFL. His name's Ryan Hunter. And he decided to go on. He played at Bowling Green, had a great, college career there. He's been on the practice roster for the Chiefs forever. Like he makes good money, but it's like, that's his decision and that's fine. But if you come here, like you don't even get a guaranteed spot, but you probably have a better chance to play and you get to play at home. But like, it's like those guys, like he was a great player in college and he's a practice roster guy there. And guys that come here, they're like, I don't want to be a practice roster guy. I want to play. And they have to fight for their positions here too. There's not, it's not like we have 30 teams. Like there's only so many positions. So it's still very competitive. Like no one's promised anything, right? Even in this league. So, and you hear those guys that talk about
injuries,
Winnipeg, like Jamarcus Hardrick. Winnipeg, like he says he loves Winnipeg and he supports all the Winnipeg sports teams because Winnipeg gave him a chance to live out his dream to play pro, right? Like that's the thing. He got a second chance. He's taken the best of it. And at the end of the day, you are playing pro football in front of diehard fans. You're signing autographs for kids, taking pictures. You are the man here in Winnipeg or Saskatchewan, even Edmonton, right? Like, I wouldn't say it's as diehard as the Middle Prairies, but it's like Hamilton. You go to Edmonton or Calgary, Hamilton, same deal. Like you kind of get to live your legendary life. And there's opportunities afterwards. You might not make the NFL money, but you're going to find yourself in a good position afterwards. But it's like, I'm so tired of that argument. And, I grew up in Ontario. It's the same thing. Like I didn't really watch CFL. Like my dad and I watched CFL at the cottage when it was on CBC, and my dad was a big Doug Flutie guy. So, and even when Flutie went from the Argonauts to Buffalo, like then that's when I started watching the NFL. Right. Like it's in Ontario. It's just like, I grew up in Timmins. There's no team near us. Like, you're 8 hours from Toronto, which would be the nearest team. But, and there was no football. We didn't have high school football or anything like that. But it's just this Ontario thing. And it's, a Toronto thing. Well, it doesn't work here. The CFL is garbage. It's like, man, those guys have never moved outside of the Ontario borders. When you come out here, I remember I moved to Saskatchewan first. I was in Regina. My first CFL experience outside of Ontario, like was a Riders game. And I remember for a preseason game driving to work, seeing people wearing green, going into like law offices and stuff. And I'm like, it was a preseason game. I'm like, oh man, no, that is absolute garbage. Cause the Ottawa Red Blacks draw pretty well. I've been to a few games there. Hamilton draws well. Like it works in those markets, but there's still that conception of it's like, it's like, our B team, it's not the Sens. It's, even in Hamilton, like it's theirs because it's just they're far enough from Toronto, that it's, the Hammer or whatever. But then you get out here and you're like, man, no, this is a real league, not only for players, but for fans too.
Well,
it's so exciting.
There's a reason the CFL, there's a reason the CFL is still around. And the NHL, it was like original six. It was Montreal and Toronto, right? And a big reason why the NHL came back to Winnipeg and even came to Calgary from Atlanta, the Flames, like the Atlanta Flames going to Calgary, the Atlanta Thrashers coming to Winnipeg, is because of the economic engine that is Southern Ontario and Quebec. It's not a direct thing, it's indirect, but that's the reason why the NHL is so big in Canada, right? It's because the 20 million people in Quebec and Southern Ontario, and yeah, sure, BC and Alberta and Manitoba too, absolutely. But that's why. In the CFL, it's not that. It's the other way around. It's the West. It's the rural areas. It's like here, Kyle said he was coming in late, but he was at the fireworks in good old Richer, Manitoba, or Richer. Yeah.
Richer on the way to the lake for me.
Yeah. But like that's it. That's who pays the bills. That's what moves the needle. That's what lives and breathes Canadian football. and you're not going to convince somebody in Toronto for whatever reason.
Which is too bad because you have the
Joey,
most historic pro football team. Like you have the oldest pro football team
that's
in
right.
North America. It's like, and I agree with you. It's not going to change, but it's too bad that it doesn't because, it's too big of a city. It's too American style in the way that it operates.
It ain't going to be a Drake concert that's going to, oh, okay, cool. It ain't.
Well, that's it. Like, you know what? That would be what it takes. Like, if you want to sell at that place, you bring Drake in for a halftime show or something like that, then people show up. But
as a member of the media who's been covering this league daily for over a decade, I go to Grey Cups. I talk to the media, other media colleagues and that sort of thing. Zach and I have had this conversation. You can have those conversations ad nauseum about what will it take to get Toronto on board. It's a forever conversation. It's one that I don't know will ever be answered until it's ultimately answered, for better or worse. I sure hope it's not for worse. But
there are diehard fans. Like it's not like they don't.
Yeah, there's about 10,000 of them. Yeah, I've interacted with some of their fans. Yeah, like I've interacted with there's probably about like 10K of them that are diehard season ticket holders, and they're great people and they're great fans. And I've been on their podcast. I mean, there's some really great. It's just too bad there aren't more, but I think there's also so many choices in Toronto, and I just don't think, the Argos are cool. But like you look at the Toronto, but you look at TFC, like Toronto FC. I mean, nobody says, "Oh, we didn't watch Toronto FC because it's not the Premier League." Just because it's not the singular best league in the world doesn't mean it can't be popular in a good game. I mean, the MLS is very popular.
Yeah, but it's the biggest one in North America, right? So that's the thing.
That's fair.
You're right. It's hard to do Europe, but a lot of those guys come back, right? Like talking about how NFL players come to the CFL, you see a lot of European guys coming over to play in MLS towards the end of their career. Like Messi, isn't he playing in like Miami now or something?
Yeah,
not a huge soccer guy, but that is and that's a big difference there too. But the thing with the Argonauts, and I'll kind of put a wedge in this, is like I don't think they need to succeed. I think that actually kind of works. It's like it kind of makes you appreciate what you have in the other markets, and it's kind of the one thing that every city has over Toronto in this league is like they can't support it even though they have 3 million people.
But is it sustainable? Is the monster corporation that owns and runs the Argos and Toronto FC and the Leafs and the Raptors and the rest, is that monster corporation going to do it forever?
Well, they like to cut stuff, so who knows?
Yeah, who knows? The other question Kyle had was, what's the scoop with Kenny Lawler? People have been asking me for weeks, and a ton today because the game was delayed and, people were start talking about the Bombers. Okay, I'm going to text the hotline and see what's what. No update on Kenny Lawler. We're 4 weeks in now. He said 3 to 4 weeks. So we will ask Mike O'Shea when the Bombers return to the practice field early this week. But, on that note, I think everybody should really just right now focus on this team being really good. 3-1 on the season. They next play at home Friday, July 7th against the Calgary Stampeders. That's going to be a really, really fun game because when the Stamps come to town, it's always a battle. Well, now you're looking at a team that is not the same Stampeders team we've seen over the last decade plus, and a Winnipeg team that is coming off a home loss. They don't want to, I would say that game July 7th is more important in the minds of the Blue Bombers to go out and lay it down because they don't want to lose at home. And they're embarrassed losing 30-6 a week ago to the BC Lions. So hang tight. It's going to be fun. We'll do a pregame show so that's Friday, July 7th. We'll do a pregame show on Thursday. Chris Welby will join me 3 p.m. We will try to get that going. Bonfire midweek. Zach's going to try to join us. I'm going to bring in some different things and have a very fun Bonfire midweek on Wednesday live at 7:30. But this was a lot of fun, guys. Heck of a football game tonight.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Thanks for having me. This was a ton of fun.
Did we lose Schnitzy?
He was just done. He's like, I'm out. It's taking too long. I thought he dozed off on us a few times, but there he is. There he is.
He's back.
Sorry, gentlemen. I guess the Starlink isn't infallible. I must have a bunch of orbiting satellites must have missed Westhock Lake for a bit there.
I thought you were just fatigued and you're like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
Suck.
You got a thorax injury. You're day to day. We'll see if you'll practice in a couple days. But
I
take a
just
couple
keep
days,
thinking when I hear thorax, I just keep thinking of the Lorax and Dr. Seuss.
right?
When you have a
Oh, see, yeah. For some reason, it
right?
reminds me of like Transformers. I'm like, that's a Transformer injury.
Lorax. Yeah, that's a good one. Transformer for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Final thoughts, guys, as we sign off here on Game Day After Dark. Thanks to everybody who's been joining the live chat. I agree with Brady, who's watching live on YouTube. Young CFL fan right there, Brady Friesen. At least that
Nice.
is your photo. Great chat. Agreed. Thanks
Yeah.
for joining us around the bonfire.
That's awesome, Brady. We need young fans. Keep it up.
Oh, there's lots.
Hey, come on. I'm still in that young fan group, you old guys. We're doing okay. We're coming along.
do you I know final thoughts, but I mean, let me ask one thing. Like,
Let's open a new can of worms. Just throw it out, Schnitzy. Let's keep going.
I mean, yeah, let's keep going, right? Like, just kidding, Darren. We'll wrap it up in a minute. But like, do you guys know, Joey, especially you, if you're younger, like, do you know people that are fans of the CFL, like younger people?
Oh yeah, like I'm not that young, but yeah, like there's like I would say there's like especially around here, man. You go to like you would know actually better than us because you're in the stands. When it like with the fans at Bombers games, like there's a lot of young dudes there, like 20s, 30s that are enjoying this sport. Like I
It's a
would say
club.
no because a
It's a
lot of my
club
friends are
atmosphere.
totally, and a lot of my friends are now live in the Toronto area, like Southern Ontario. And they're not like they're that, but again, that's a whole
Yeah,
different market, which we discussed. But you go to games like again, like I've covered the Riders, been Elks and stops before Winnipeg. I've done some work in Ottawa as well. There are some young fans everywhere. But it's like I just think it's the engagement of it all. Like they need more. And that's where I think Toronto
yeah,
becomes a problem is you have a big pool of young people there. And it could help kind of save the league. Because I will say all the Argonauts fans that I do know that are actual diehards, if they are my age, it's their parents that were the actual diehards. And they're
yeah,
all older people. Like you say, DB, you go to the Grey Cups, like because I've been to the last two, and when you see the Argos fans, like it usually is a little bit higher up in the demographic, but it's just I don't know what it's going to take, but there's an engagement even today. Actually, I'll say this: TSN had Chaos playing. Crab Bucket, the song. It's an old song, but it wasn't country. There was this while we were just like pumping out the country like crazy,
They're
which is
changing it up
fine.
a little bit.
Exactly. And that's what I think you need to do, right? Like there's like, yes, like country was hot when they were doing it, but like you can't just play the Rec Laws 85 times a night. So, like to mix it up a little bit and bring
Or
different
John Ross.
demographics in, right? Like you got to bring these guys in and make it fun. And I think they're like, in certain ways they're doing a better job, but it's getting the product out and wanting people to, to want to watch it.
Yep. Agreed. It's a great game. And, I like Joey, I was telling you this the other day when we left Shannon's Irish Pub after the Sea Bears game. Go check them out, 175 Carlton Street. And what I shared with you was how, Winnipeg's like, it's like a secret, right? And our reputation of, oh, Winnipeg, it's cold, mosquitoes, blah, blah, it keeps the jerks out. And
Yeah.
those who know, they know. This is a great place to live for so many reasons, for reasons you can't get elsewhere. And I think
Yeah.
the CFL is the same way. If you know this game and really look at it, there is so much to appreciate about it. It's so it's just like it's like that glass of scotch or that cigar or that cup of coffee when you're young. It's like, oh, it tastes kind of weird and oh, that's not, oh wow, it's really good. And then you're like, I can't live without it. I love it.
Perfect example. Like we moved here, and as an adopted Winnipegger, most of my friends, when I said I was moving to Winnipeg, beyond like Regina and Edmonton, like no one really said anything about those places. But I was like, "Oh, you're moving to Winnipeg?" And it's funny because most of the people that don't like Winnipeg have never actually been to Winnipeg. Just like most of the people that don't like the CFL never actually watched a CFL game. So you're making these judgments on whatever stereotypes, rumors, you name it. Like even my wife, like when we moved here, like she jokingly said, like I'll move anywhere but Winnipeg. We moved here; it is our favorite city, right? Like this,
really?
there's like oh man, I can get into it. Like I loved. There's no stop that I hated, but like you get the perfect balance in Winnipeg of like I'm from Timmins, she's from Toronto, like small town, big city, and this is the absolute down the middle. You get all of the things that you want from a big city, and you don't have to deal with the other ones. Like, I don't have a 2-hour commute there and back to get to
Right,
work.
right.
Right. I know people in my neighborhood. Like, we walk around, people will say hi to you. I've made friends here as an adult that I don't work with. Like, that doesn't happen everywhere, where people are just like,
Yeah,
like,
that's a good
oh, you
point.
seem cool. Here's my number. Let's go grab a beer. Let's have a games night.
Yep.
It's a really like a heartwarming place.
You can pick up and drive an hour in any direction and be in the middle of nowhere.
And the food
and that's
scene,
a valuable
my
thing.
goodness. Like, there's a boar burger at
The food's
Shannon's.
good, eh? we gotta have a boar burger together, gentlemen.
I think so. The Bonfire bearded boys need boar burgers.
After a
nice
Sea Bears
alliterations.
Game. Yeah, I love it. I think that's a
nice
great idea. Well, on that note, fellas, we have a date.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, we can continue this conversation, and the Firestarters can join, and it would be a nice night for all. My final thought, Darren, is I think this team, they were a little bit in question under the microscope because of what happened in BC. Mm-hmm. And the narrative came out, people were wondering, is this O-line too old? Are the Bombers, have they peaked? Are they kind of gone on the back nine here? Like, were they just exposed and other teams are going to watch that film and do the same things? And I think the team answered tonight that no, they're not. They may be on the back nine, but they're 2 under par or 1 under par, right? They're still there. And this game could have gotten ugly for Montreal. I think the Bombers missed, they didn't execute, they missed some opportunities. But as a fan, I'm heartened to see that they made the plays that they needed to play, particularly on defense, some timely turnovers. And given the injuries that are there, I think it was impressive the secondary played as well as they did. And this team, I think, made a statement. We're not done yet, but we'll see. Calgary, looking at next game, Calgary is a beatable opponent. They are not the same Calgary Stampeders they used to be, and they have a ton of guys on the 6th game. Kadeem Gary, Malik Henry's out for the year. I think Peyton Logan now is on the 6th game. They are struggling, and I think I would like, as a fan, I would like to see the Bombers use this as a stepping stone, beating Montreal in Montreal and just clobbering the Stampeders at home would be lovely.
Well, to jump on that, I think, to next game, I do think this one needs to be a bit of a whooping based on everything you just said. Like, I don't think you want to have a game like tonight where, win's a win for sure. But I think that like next game with everything in, like, you got to make a bit of a statement, especially after the statement that was made against you on your home turf. This game, I think, was great. It was, as Mike O'Shea always says, business as usual. And I can say that, from the guys that I talked to during practice, there was no sense of, panic. It was, they watched the tape. It was hard to watch. We've learned our mistakes. There was no finger pointing. It was out of character game. It happens. It's humbling. It hasn't happened in 3 years. Or maybe even more. It's been a while since they've gotten a spanking like that. And sometimes you need one just to kind of, hey man, this is a competitive league. It's not easy, right? Just a reminder that it's not easy. They came in tonight. Conditions weren't great. It was an hour and whatever later than expected to start. They were ready to play. They were prepared. Both the offensive and defensive coordinators, I thought, called a great game on both ends. They got the pressure on Fajardo that made him uncomfortable all night. They kept the ball out of the end zone. And Buck Pierce had, I don't know if that was their game plan coming into this, right? Like, the rain adds a little bit to it, and they were able to audible and they figured it out. And so I think it was a great statement game, as you say, Zach. It was exactly what you needed today. It wasn't the blowout that, we've grown accustomed to, but it's back trending in the right direction. And that's good. Also going to take the chance to say that I am also the Sea Bears sideline reporter, and we just launched our podcast. So if there are any Sea Bears fans out there,
nice.
Score weekly podcast, ripping off the Bonfire, thing a little bit with the weekly stuff, and we hope to do a little bit more. If you have problems finding it on iTunes or Spotify, we're working on that. But just remember the target score, and I will text Darren to make sure that he reminds people again out of the goodness of his heart, and he has to take me out for drinks for this, because that's what guest hosts get. So for any future guest hosts out here, you go to Shannon's, your tab is taken care of by Darrin Bauming, unlimited. So, I'm not going to go unlimited. I might have a drink on his tab, as long as he shouts out our podcast later on when everything is totally up and running. But yeah, the target score, a play on the rule of the league, which is awesome. If you, I don't know,
Yeah,
Schnitz, if
it
you've
is
seen a
awesome.
Sea Bears game, but
I've
it
been to
is,
2 Seabars games.
dude, it is like that target
It's
score. I'll
fun.
say it really quick. When it gets to 4 minutes, it's the leading team score +9. The first person to hit that score wins. So you could be down 25. It's like baseball. There's no clock other than the shot clock.
You
So,
gotta go to a game to see
dude,
what's
it is.
what.
Yeah.
You
It
gotta
is
go.
something. It is something. And it kind of like the CFL, it's a 20-game season. So they have 10 home games, 10 away games. So a
Oh,
loss
yeah. Eh?
it could be huge. It's not an 82-game season. So like each
Oh, and
game
by
has
the
a sense
way,
of urgency.
where are they in the league right now?
Top spot, 8-3,
Right.
blowing everybody out of the water on a
Mm.
big road trip right now, though, playing some teams they haven't played yet that are pretty good out in the East. So, but again, they're 8-3. They have a 3-game road trip that's pretty big against a team that whooped them. One of those 3 losses was to Edmonton. Now they go to
Oh, I was
Edmonton and
at
play
that
them.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, that one was the one tough game. So yeah, if these guys keep going, what do we look at? Or keep going. It's only going to get more interesting, Kyle.
Yeah. No, well said by both of you on your final thoughts, and I second, well, frankly, all of it. But my final thought is that while we've become accustomed to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers being a dominant football team, this is what fans really need to understand. I was talking with somebody inside the Blue Bombers organization the other day, and because we're talking about like, oh, you win by 2 touchdowns, win by 10. This sort of thing, that sort of thing. The 30-6 loss was amplified or magnified because it was at home. The reality of football is any given Sunday, you never know what you're going to get. And the fact that the Blue Bombers are good is not because they're more talented than everybody or more physical than everybody. It's because they are more consistently better and more talented and more physical than everybody. That's why you hit 13 wins. That's why you hit 15 wins and tie a franchise record like they did last year. That's why you go to 3 straight Grey Cups. That's why you win them in back-to-back seasons over a 3-year period of time. When it comes to Winnipeg and people expecting them to win by 10, 15 points, score 40 every week, don't allow more than 20 every week, the reality is just win. It does not matter how many yards you give up. It does not matter how many points the other team scores. All that matters is if you have one more point than them at the end of the game. And I think fans need to remember that. The greatest teams we have seen in football history, no matter what league, all of them won games by 1 point. All of them lost games by 10 points.
Hey,
and this Winnipeg Blue Bombers team, that window is probably on its way down.
Yeah. Well, you look at those last 2 Grey Cup story, Darren, like, right? It was a 1-point loss and an overtime win. Like any given Sunday, like you're totally right. Like that is
they were the third. They were the third seed in 2019, and they kicked the crap out of the Ticats.
Yep.
They lost to Toronto by 1 point in a game where they like serially turned the ball over.
Yeah, and didn't get kicked.
Like that's what the beauty of not just football, but the Canadian Football League is no lead is safe. The CFL is the crazy football league. You never know what you're going to get. And that's why people love it. That's why they're here on Bonfire Sports. That's why they're joining us so late at night, or maybe afterwards on the podcast, on Game Day After Dark. And that's why you guys are here pining to join the show, Joey Slattery. Great job tonight, man. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, buddy, you brought it. Slats.
Anytime. This was so much fun. Yeah, I had a blast on this. I do watch the show like all the time. It's my wife's favorite show. So we're always flipping on the After Dark and taking it all in. So it's it's like the weird part about this is I don't just get to sit back and watch. I had to contribute.
That's right. And hey, Schnitzy, love you, brother. Thanks for joining us from Parts Unknown, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah. I'll tell people I'm at beautiful West Hawk Lake. Just love this spot. It's a tradition to watch away games at the mother-in-law's place up in Falcon. So it was a great night, and yeah, sayonara, everybody. That's my what is it? That's my thing. That's my MO. I say sayonara.
That's your official
That's my
sign off.
yeah. That's my official sign off. It's been fun, Joey. Thanks for joining, buddy. I'll do it again.
Oh, anytime, man. Thank you guys so much for inviting me. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
We'll see you guys Wednesday night for Bonfire midweek, and then pregame on Thursday, 3:00, with the man, the myth, the living legend, Chris Walby. Postgame, as always, after every single Bombers game, home and away. We'll see you then. Thanks to Shannon's Irish Pub. Go check them out. Thanks, boys. Have a great night.